Alright. Yeah, so this is kind of a weird thing I'm doing, but it makes sense. Even though I'm going to, and by the way, this is Thursday night, the stream is on Saturday. Even though this Saturday the stream will be Kingdom Come Deliverance, I want to keep playing in Titan Quest. In fact, on the other character, I've already gotten to level 30. I've completed the chapter 2 and in better than halfway in chapter 3. So I want to keep going on the stream character. So I'm just going to do this recording for about an hour. And then, there, hopefully, come on, hook back in. You can do it, OBS, you can do it. Yay. Okay. And then, yeah, so I'm going to do the stream. I'm just going to set it up so that this will be pre-recorded, obviously, and just will go up at the same time, just so that way, yes, I can keep going. So I don't feel so bad leaving this one so far behind, and I have left it behind. Alright. So, let's get going. So let's look up here, so... I have to be a little bit careful, because it's like I want to, keep talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance to that stream instead of, don't talk about it here. If people want to know what I think about the game so far, since I haven't done the review yet. I've only got not as much time as you might think, considering how long I've had the game. Things have been coming up. Actually, wait, it's weird how it records time. But I haven't written a word of the actual review yet. I have a page of notes right here. In a way, technically a little bit more, because I had to write in margins some things. But yeah. Still, all that discussion for the game, that should be reserved for its actual stream. And something else I hope I will be able to do, but that's months away, so I shouldn't talk about that either. What can I talk about? What is some of the stuff I've done in this game? I know... whenever I get to showing the stash, you'll see I made some changes there. Kinda had to. Because of all the new relics and such that I got, I had to make some changes to how I manage the inventory, manage the shared stash. But I also have made some more. No, I'm not. Of the artifacts to put on. Well, no, I made two. Because I have two other characters, one on each. Each one is different, so do that. I also finally got, because this is a lesser artifact. See, it says there right under the name. I also have, I got one for just an artifact, so it's a level up. It takes two smaller artifacts to make it. That's going to take a while. But boy, is that a nice one. And there's even higher. There's even higher levels. There's like greater artifacts as well. That's a good thing. I enjoy the game. Because there's still so much to do in it. Okay. So, I just wanted to check to make sure I didn't accidentally start streaming this now. Because this will be pre-recorded. See, I don't like the idea of just doing a random stream. I want it to be on a schedule. I like schedules. You just set a schedule and keep to it. To me, that's a positive thing. Like seeing when a developer does that. Like one, I never streamed it, but Prison Architect. That Introversion managed to keep I'm pretty sure it was a once a month update schedule that prior to it reaching 1.0. I like that. I think, and I know I'd said it in some places, probably on the stream, but just that I feel if you're going to do an early access game, that's what you do. You set a schedule. If you're going to do streams, again, I feel that's how you should do it, where you set a schedule and you keep to it. I actually sent recently, Google changed how you get YouTube partnership, which means that you can actually get ad revenue come back to you. They recently changed that, and I sent them a message about it. And the channel that I like do most stuff on, it's like, that's the one that it would be nice if that actually could somehow make me a little bit of money. Some return on the sizable investment I've made for that game, for that thing. It's fine. I enjoy doing it, even without any money coming in from it. It's fine. It's all fine. But and I even put in the message I sent to Google. It doesn't matter what you changed it to, because it's not like I'm going to lose it, because I never had partnership, and I'm probably never going to get it. But one thing that I said in there, and it's like, yeah, in a way this would potentially help someone like me, but it's not about that. It's that genuinely I think this is something that should be considered, is that, because let me see, they changed it from 10,000 total views to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of playtime in the past year. Well, past 12 months. Which is odd language that not everyone was, I at least wasn't sure, and I think other people were like, what really does that mean? But one thing that I said in this message I sent them, in the support and feedback thing, was that maybe what you should do with some of those, because all that does is respect the very specific metrics. It's purely a viewer-based system. That's like, if you get views, then that's it. It doesn't matter beyond that. Which, if you want to say that you're making changes to help creators, or you're doing something for the creators, maybe not have everything based on viewers. Because, I mean, think about it, with the current system, well, with either system, 10,000 total views or 4,000 hours viewed in the past 12 months, you could have somebody who, every now and then they put up a video, and they just had one that went nuts. Like, one example, and I in no way mean this to be demeaning to the people involved, but Gangnam Style, which hit a ridiculous number of views, and undoubtedly a ridiculous number of a ridiculous amount of playtime from those views, but probably also got a number of subscriptions just because of that. That they would get it immediately. Now, let's just, as this hypothetical, which I know is not the case. Sai, was that his name? It's been long enough, and I don't need that information readily accessible in my mind. He is an actual creator, so it's like he would be doing a bit better than random videos. But let's say he didn't. You're just this hypothetical person that they just had one hit. They would get that. They could get that partnership. They can get ad revenue. And that whole 4,000 hour view and 1,000 subscribers, except for losing subscribers, they would for 12 months have that. Whereas somebody else, let's say someone like me, but who actually people watch the videos of, which, like I said, I do that stuff because I enjoy it. I don't do it to make money on it, because I would have stopped a long time ago if that were the case. I enjoy doing it. But let's say someone like me that maybe didn't quite hit those numbers, but, was still pretty close. It was still respectable. I'm not at that level, trust me. I have no idea what the viewing hours is. I don't even know if I can see that. But I do know, is it maybe 5 subscribers? And under 2, I have more videos up than I think views. That's how meaningless that is. How meaningless that channel is for the world. Hey, I got no problem insulting myself. Especially when it's not an insult, it's just the reality. Um, but I have, since I started that channel in May 2016, kept a 2 videos a week schedule the entire time. And more recently, like at, at this point, I think it would be better than a year. Not the full year and a half, though. 3 videos a week. That's a lot of work. That is not easy. And that's something that'll be in those. Google has those metrics. You can completely see how often people are uploading videos. I mean, a user can see that. So of course Google would be able to, and have a much easier time looking at it too. So what I was basically suggesting is, why don't you look at something like that? Because that's a creator-based metric. That's telling you something about the creator, not just about the videos. That's saying, hey, this person is committed, and even if it's not, because it's Monday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday is the schedule I have. Where Monday and Thursday are linked, Tuesday's a different thing. Maybe I should explain that a little better. Monday and Thursday will be like the same series, the Let's Plays. Same game, Tuesday's different game. Okay, just so you understand that. So I do keep a days of the week schedule, but other people, they may only do a 1 a week schedule that, maybe they don't, sometimes it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Friday, whatever. It's always as 1 a week. That's still impressive, because that's showing a commitment. Even 1 a month, depending on what it is still a, hey, this person, it's not just they do this because it's fun, they do it because they choose to do it. This is part of their life. YouTube, Google, why don't you throw those people a bone? Why don't you change it to include that? That's basically what I tried to write in that message I sent. I got no idea if, was it read? Most likely. Did the person who read it care? That I don't know. Did it go to anyone that could in any way influence how, the system that Google uses? I completely doubt it. I in no way believe that would happen. I mean, just, why would I? I mean, for those videos I do, I've even tried contacting the creators of the game of the different games I've done before, just in some cases just telling them, hey, I've done this, and never anything back. It's like they don't even acknowledge that I do it. Why the hell would somebody take criticism? Oh, there's something I can talk. Wow, I did forget that. That was yesterday. Wow. Why exactly did it enter my mind? That's right. That's why. I need to remember, how did I get by the train of thought? THQ Nordic, who owns this game, they purchased the Titan Quest franchise, the game and single expansion for it, from THQ when its assets were auctioned off. It purchased other IP and assets from that sale as well. Purchased Koch Media, which owned Deep Silver. So, yeah, as I try to put into the title of the, I think I succeeded, since I does say it, of the news item for that, a lot. No, I didn't put that in the title, but the first sentence, that a lot of THQ properties are now reunited. That I have to say, seeing that news so early in the morning, it's like, what the hell? Really? That was huge. Because, I mean, especially since one of the reasons that Nordic Games changed their name to THQ Nordic, they did in part for the whole just recognition that, hey, we have a lot of THQ properties, and guess what? We love them, and we're going to do stuff with them, because that's the kind of respect and love we have for these games, which is really good. That is a good thing. But also, they jokingly said it's because when they bought up some of the assets from the bankruptcy sale, the bankruptcy auction, people were like, "Who the hell is this?" Their language is actually a little bit stronger, but it's like, "Who's Nordic Games?" And it's like, well, now it's THQ Nordic. It's like, oh, there's, even though it's not exactly a direct line from THQ to THQ Nordic, it's not like THQ Nordic Games was formed out of THQ. It's still, there's something, but regardless, coming back to it, Deep Silver and THQ Nordic together, and the reason why I remember this, from not everyone taking criticism, like Google and the whole, I don't think they necessarily saw that, is that reminded me how there were reports after Agents of Mayhem, a game developed by Volition that Deep Silver bought following THQ's demise. They reportedly, and it actually in the press release for on THQ's Nordic Investor Relations site for it, mentioned this even, that following the release of Agents of Mayhem and Homefront Revolution, which is another game I did only the game tweet guide, I never did a review for it. They both were subpar launches, and I remember seeing reports that they were that for Agents of Mayhem at least, they were trying to get feedback to find out where they went wrong. But the thing mentioned in the press release on Wednesday for the acquisition was that they actually did some restructuring, management restructuring, so that it would be a different process for how things get approved. It was actually in there. I didn't put it in the news item. I didn't think that was necessarily needed. Although, no, I think I did say something about restructuring. Besides that, there's not going to be restructuring as a result of this acquisition. So Deep Silver and THQ Nordic, while under the same umbrella, are going to be independent. Though I do wonder if we will see Volition get to develop more Red Faction, because I would like to see more Red Faction. Yeah, that was one thing funny. THQ Nordic Games bought the Red Faction franchise, but not Volition. So if there was going to be another Red Faction game, it was going to be coming from Volition. It's just kind of funny. But now we may see that happen. But yeah, it's interesting that they felt that they needed to do something that serious. But then also, as I wrote in the review of Agents of Mayhem, I didn't care for it that much. It just, there were a lot of things that I felt were lacking, and things where it's like, you did it better than this in the Saints Row franchise that is older, and that this is sort of continuing from. I think, and I kind of use this for how I think about some of the stories I write. Agents of Mayhem, maybe the best way to put it is the next game in the Saints Row story, Saints Row series in a way, but it is not a sequel. It's just what's next. But anyway, yeah, and Homefront Revolution, that too was not that great a game. But with that, it dawned on me sometime after I had played it exactly what it was. And you know, another thing I think I remember why I didn't review it was not only that I was unimpressed, and if I don't have a very strong feeling one way or another, I don't really want to talk about a game. It's like if I don't like a game, I will talk about it. If I really like a game, I will talk about it. It's in the middle. I don't always feel like that. But part of it and dawned me later, was the progression for the game. I felt was very weak. Because very early on, like before I got out of the first area, I had already unlocked basically everything. Because just I'm enough of a do-everything kind of gamer that I could. which is making a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance an interesting experience. There's a lot to do in that game. And hopefully people know that anyway, regardless of that. Don't worry, I'll be mentioning that in the stream as well, and in the review. But yeah, that was part of it. So I think I'd have to look it up, but I think I could say, crap. I want this over there. So that's still a lesser artifact as well. I'm not gonna be able to.
You can't carry anymore. Your inventory is full.
And yeah, none of those combine. It's stuck like that now. Okay. It's like you need, when you run into that being the case, where the progression doesn't feel great, because it's like you've already got everything, then it's just the story that needs to drive you forward, and the story never really pulled me in that game. And I guess
I don't have time for idle chit-chat.
It's been long
I'm too
since
busy.
I played it.
I suppose you'll want something that's sold out.
I'm just trying to think of how I would put it. You know what? Don't even bother with that. That's not important. Instead, just I can understand, and I definitely think it is a good thing that I want to hang on to, or at least take a closer look at. I'll stick that in the stash. But still, the fact that Deep Silver decided, hey, we are going to look into this,
Our chest
that's a
was
very
spacious and
good
secure.
thing. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, it's up here. No? Where is it? This is one I made that I could end up using here. Where is... Oh, it's right here. Okay. That's right, yeah. Because I hadn't finished going... I hadn't come back to this yet. Okay. Still need to put some things in here. Yeah, I completely forgot to do some inventory management here. After collecting so much stuff. Okay. I mean, that's how many of these things I have, so I needed to break them out. Open up a lot more room. Okay. There. I am still doing the whole I only pull them out of here when I fill it up. Alright, but here, let's... Oh no, this is actually a greater artifact. So, player level 25, but 25% poison resistance, 50% health regeneration. I love that. And plus energy, plus offensive ability, reduction in energy cost. I mean, that's great. But look at this. Leaf Song and Crystal Tier artifacts. Along with the Viney Growth, completed charm. And I haven't even seen a Viney Growth yet. At least not a charm. At least I don't think I have. Oh no, it's right here. Take that back. Right there. It's been a few days. Leaf Song and Crystal Tier. I think I have Leaf Song. Yeah, Leaf Song. It's right there. But I haven't seen Crystal Tier yet. But yeah.
Good day then.
Yeah, so I have that Pale Moon artifact that has the lightning damage. Oh, man, but going back to the whole THQ North and Deep Silver, I have been happy with this game, and I do like... I mean, even the other day, this actually... Why is the star laying on the ground there? This game actually got another update. Now, true, in this case, that update was they made it where, hey, if you have the Ragnarok DLC, you just got the its soundtrack to go with it. Okay, I like getting game soundtracks. I like them. Maybe I enjoy listening to them. Maybe I don't. This one it's very ambient, so it doesn't really do that much for me. But like the Witcher soundtracks, I really like those. I actually like the Witcher 2 soundtrack better than Witcher 3, but I'll still just listen to the Witcher 3 soundtrack. The Witcher 1 soundtrack doesn't do it for me as well as either of those. I hate this. Specifically the Undead Sorcerer, Fallen Sorcerer. But yeah, and it's just, I like that commitment that THQ Nordic has shown by their continued work on this game, and that they are in fact also reviving like the Darksiders franchise, with Darksiders 3 coming later this year, in theory. I know, I want to say the last I saw is just the release date of this year, but nothing more specific than that. And I think, I want to say there was an announcement trailer, but I think maybe one other video has come out. Otherwise, it has been very quiet. I think. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to go off my memory, which may not be completely accurate. Yeah, Darksiders. That was I very much enjoyed the first game. I reviewed both of them, in fact. And I do think Darksiders 1 is better than Darksiders 2. But one thing, Darksiders 2 was one game that, when I replayed it, which it was my second playthrough when I did the review for it. That was a game that definitely on the second playthrough I enjoyed more, because I understood better some of the stuff that was going on. And I don't mean like in the story stuff going on, I mean like the ability to sacrifice items to upgrade others. I didn't realize that, not the first time at least, wasn't until the second time and I was actually looking things up that I realized, that I found out that what the stat was that you could choose to put more points into was based on, or what new stat it could get was actually based on the last thing you sacrificed, which is both nice to give the player control, but also really, really bad because you didn't necessarily see this, and if you didn't know the exact amount of experience that you need to sacrifice in order to get to an upgrade, is a problem. Because you may screw up. So I do wish that system were done a bit differently, but it still was a nice system, and once I better understood it,
That which they call a
better
Hell
job with
King
it.
passed through here. When it came, we all fled, for we were cowards. But our head
drink
priest,
one of those, yes.
Nebkemi, stood before the dread sorcerer. With his staff high and his arm outstretched, he fought it. Only the terrible Telkin turned Nebkemi's spells back upon him. Our brave head priest was changed, utterly transformed. He is one of them now.
I sold everything. Hang on, I'm just... Oh, yeah, there is one. So I don't want to miss that. Okay, no, I can't go through that door yet. That's sealed. Need to go this way. Okay, I just wasn't sure if maybe those would open. But yeah, so I got another Telki. There's actually a third one even. After this. After this one in Chapter 3, there's another one. And I haven't gotten there yet. I just, when reading, I was looking up, I think, was it this one? That it also needed, yeah, the physical resistance would suggest it needs the turtle shell, so I was looking up how to farm that, the turtle shell thing, because I don't have that much of them, that many of the, I don't remember what exactly they're called. there's relics and charms, that's right. So I think it's the turtle shell charm. And just while looking up how to farm that, just seeing farming and that, from that you can see certain things. And also the story does actually say, hey, we are chasing another Telkine, but it's weird, like the final boss I want to say that I was seeing mentioned for chapter 3 though is the Hydra. I don't quite remember, but I know there's another Telkine, there's Hydra. There's a Hydra the Hydra to fight. There is only the one Hydra. There's many heads, but there's only the one, at least in the mythology. Typhon, who's the father of monsters. Echidna's the mother. Come on, remember. Hades. Which I'm interested in that fight because how are they gonna make Hades the bad guy again? Because he's really not a bad guy. They just this new concept, newish concept, because it clearly was not present for in ancient times for the Greeks and Romans, and undoubtedly other cultures as well. Egypt, I would think, would be accurate to say it's true for them as well. Don't have the same fear of death that we do, or rather aversion to death. To death, I should say. So it's like, the god of the dead is actually a very important role. It's like this is the one responsible for the souls of all people after their death. That is a very, very important role. And so Hades is not just some goofball of sorts. It's like he's not a small figure. He is very important, and he's actually a good guy. He really is. It is kind of sad knowing that how people like to make him the bad guy in everything. It's not a throwing weapon, so I'm not going to use it, but I like my throwing weapons. But yeah, I mean, it's like, really, the one bad thing from mythology that Hades ever did was kidnapping Persephone. Because he loved her. And it's like, I mean, at least then, it's like, well, it's because he loved her. There was no ill intent there. It just, he didn't really know how to handle, handle women, deal with women. I mean, what guy does, to be fair. And it's also he was someone who was not. He wanted to be in charge of Hades, in charge of the underworld, because he didn't like people. Not that he hated people, but that he liked being alone. He wasn't the most social of the Titans, of the Olympians. Just how it was. But yeah, it just, when you compare him to his two brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, or Jupiter and Neptune, depending on which name you seem to want to go with. They were both a lot more hopeful than he was. I mean, at least when it comes to behaviors. I mean, Zeus, both of them fathered a tremendous number of children with basically any woman that caught their interest. And in some cases, that was not, to any female that caught their interest. And in some cases, like Zeus had at least one child while he was a bull, or I think it was. There's a lot of really, really weird stuff in Greco-Roman mythology. It is weird. But with Zeus, he did that, and Hera, his wife, did not like that. It's like that. That's why there are part of the myths heard trying to kill them. or at least doing very mean things to them. Like, pretty sure that is accurate. The sending him serpents to try to kill Hercules. That was pretty sure that was her doing that. The killing of his family, though, I don't remember if she had a part in that or if that was something else. I don't recall. She might not have had a part in that. The crippling of Hephaestus, or Vulcan. That was... I'm pretty sure that was her. Because she threw him from Mount Olympus when he was still a child, and it so destroyed his legs that he was a cripple, he couldn't walk. So in response, there's a reason he's the god of the forge. He made 2 robots, 1 gold, 1 silver, that are basically carrying him around. Hey, when you got those skills and you need something like that, that's what you do. They actually have names. I don't remember what they are, though. But those 2 constructs have names. Yeah. Now, Poseidon's wife, whose name does escape me, she was more tolerant of his misbehaviors. But he still had a lot of kids, too. And not with her. It's... Yeah. Neither of them were very faithful, but Hades, he was. Now I'm trying to remember. I don't know if the mythology ever had him and Persephone having children. It's possible that it doesn't. I really don't know. I do know that the story of kidnapping Persephone is part of the story of the seasons. That because Persephone's mother was Hestia, was that it? Goddess of the seasons. And the idea is that Persephone, because she didn't belong in the underworld, but because she ate a pomegranate seed, I believe it was specifically, she was then basically, she'd consumed part of the underworld, so she was a part of it now, but she was also technically an immortal. She is the daughter of a god, so at least she is a demigod. So the deal was struck that she would just basically spend half the year in the underworld with Hades, half the year up on Earth or in Olympus with her mother, and that was when she's down in the underworld. Hestia is, or maybe it was Vesta. No, I think it was Hestia. If there's ever something that you come across that talks about the Vestal Virgins, they were the priestesses for Hestia. But anyway, because she's sad, her daughter is with her during that half the year. That's why you have the colder seasons. That's why it would be colder and darker, is because she's sad, so she can't bring as much warmth and light into the world. Whereas then when she's back, it's, it's happy and warm. Can you think of a better way to explain the seasons? That's mythological, not scientific. I'm just trying to think, what are the other do I know other mythological explanations for the seasons? I feel like I should know at least one, though. That I've learned, that I've come across at least one. But I just can't think of it. At least one other, I mean. I'll bet that the Inuit one would be particularly interesting, seeing as how for them it wouldn't necessarily be a warm and cold season. warm and cold seasons, but a light and dark seasons. The Inuits. That's... I don't actually know if it is the official name. It's the more politically correct name, at least, for Eskimos. They refer to the same people. I just don't know some of the aspects to the names, because I do know some things concerning a lot of Native American names, like like the Cheyenne is what we call them. The reason why we called that particular tribe, culture, that was because before we got to them, we encountered another tribe, another culture first, and they didn't like them, so they gave them their name, which was basically an insult, a slur, because Cheyenne means cannibal. So you don't actually call them Cheyenne. I don't remember the correct name for them, the name they have them. But don't call them Cheyenne, because it's actually an insult. Yeah, so that had to be interesting. Like, oh, so you're the Cheyenne? Don't call us that. But there's other instances of that as well. Like, Apache, I want to say, is warrior, but... you know, with the connotation meaning that they're very warlike, but I want to say that the name they actually go by, its meaning is the people. So it is interesting there, and I don't know, I would fully believe it if somebody said that that's also the case with Eskimo versus Inuit, where Eskimo has a negative meaning, was just the name that a different people we encountered first gave them. Use for them? I don't know. It'd be like how you see this in some science fiction where people on Earth are referred to as Terrans because the planet is referred to as Terra, whereas we may prefer to be called Earthlings, something like that, or the reverse may be the case, where we would rather be referred to as Terrans, but other people would call us as Earthlings. It's that there are definitely instances of that, and it comes down to, you know, in some cases, who gets asked what the name is? Because who knows? You know, it's like maybe when aliens come here, they encounter the Martians first, and they're like, "Oh, them? Yeah, they're the assholes." Yeah, they keep. And it's like, from their point of view, we may be assholes. I'm thinking about, we keep landing these things on there that at first they didn't move around. They just sat there and poked things into the soil, try to figure things out. But then we start putting these little cars on there. Seriously? You're putting little cars on our planet and just driving them around, and they're willy-nilly digging things up. I mean, even when they break down, you still won't get rid of them. Really? You're assholes. I mean, that's something that could happen if there were life on Mars, and if aliens ever came to Mars before Earth. I may have carried that hypothetical on a bit longer than I should have. But yeah, you do definitely see a lot of that. And even where, I don't know if the names are incorrect, but you still see different names being used. Like, another example I know of would be, you know, we call them Germans in the land Germany, but it's
Yes?
they are Deutsch. It's the Deutschland. And the reason why it's called Germany is because that was that region was called Germania by the Romans. But then the Romans fell, and it... Wait, did I sell the Miko thing? Mikos? Yeah, I'll hang on to that. I'm not going to use it, but I'll hang on.
Goodbye.
That's what they called it. I don't know... Yeah, so they go by... They're the Deutsch. I mean, it's the Deutschland. They speak Deutsch. It's not German. And I know I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but that's because of it being Germania. But it's also, they are they're from the Goths, the Visigoths, that basically sacked and helped bring about the end of the Roman Empire. The Visigoths sacked Rome. So it is different, but I don't, because France was Gaul, the Gaul, and then you also saw on the British Isles and the islands such the Gaelic. So I'm just, and those, it's like that's, well, no, that's true. The people were called that, at least by someone. But it was Britannia. The Romans did refer to it as Britannia, so that's where that came from. I don't necessarily know about source for Irish or Scottish even, but France. That's the Franco area. So maybe it's something like that. But Spain and Spanish, I don't know if they have a different name. But that was Hispania. So, I mean, it's like there it clearly is. But it's also, I don't know if they also have a dual name situation. I know it's the case with Japan. Because Japan is not the actual name there. And I only know this because there was one, it was a John Wayne World War II movie. I think it was a John Wayne movie. I know it was a World War II movie. Where he referred to them as nips, which is actually, it is a slur. But it's the same kind of slur like calling the Germans Krauts in World War II. Same idea there, because the name of Japan, I may have this wrong, it's like Nippon for them? So it's, that's what's going on there. And I really hope none of that is offensive and not terribly inaccurate either. But it is an interesting, how the hell did I get to this topic? And it's weird. On the one hand, I like that I am at the point where I can just talk. That somehow I can maintain a train of thought. Maybe chain of thought is a better description, because these links are technically separate things, but somehow they're connected. That's right, that's how. See, the mythological reasons for the seasons, to the Inuits, and then the whole Inuit versus Eskimo thing. That's it. And I wonder how inaccurate all that may have been. But yeah, it's still, all that, it still is an interesting thing that I'm sure some anthropologists have spent a lot of time studying. Just how you see some groups having, being called the wrong name, and just what kind of meaning there is in that. In both what the wrong name is, what the right name is, and why. There is the confusion is technically the correct word. Even though with something like the Cheyenne, that's not confusion. That was, because confusion can imply that's an accident. It was not an accident. On our part, maybe. Well, on the part of the people finding them, which were not necessarily Americans. They may have been Spanish. I don't know. Got there first. That part of history I don't know that well. But it still is. It's interesting. All right. Yeah. But yeah, I wonder about that. How many. China is almost certainly going to be like that because of how its history is. India as well. Because both China and India have at least had, I don't know how much with China, but had very, very diverse cultures in it that still work together, like the Hindu faith. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before when talking about mythologies. There's many, many sects in there. Just all, because it's polytheistic, but there's still, you may worship a single one of the deities. So it's like the mythology is polytheistic, but the practice can be monotheistic in some cases. It's like, that's really interesting. So it's like, to me it's interesting at least. And you could see some weird stuff there because of that. With one group has one name, another group has another name, but we refer to them as Indians. But at least it's still India is related to Hindu, so that I think that is something from that. I could be wrong. That might have been a British name for it, and not originating with the Hindus, with people who follow Hinduism in one form or another. And now I just had another one in my mind that is kind of relevant to this. What about the Egyptians? Because Egypt has the weird thing to it that we didn't even know how to read its language for a long time. Not until the Rosetta Stone was found. So that would mean then that their writing did not survive them. Well, there was not a continuation of their writing such that you didn't lose the ability to read it. It's like, we know how to read Latin because the Catholic Church carried on that tradition there, and there's definitely going to be other instances of a language that somehow it carried on because somebody else took it up and preserved it and continued to work with it. Like, I want to say Sanskrit is also an ancient language that you don't really see used anymore today. It's an ancient written language. But because this would have been most likely Arab and Muslim traders, first Arab, but because Sanskrit predates Islam, and that preservation would predate Islam when it was still just the Arab traders. It's like they would have continued to preserve some of that stuff and have been actually translating it when Sanskrit was still prevalent enough for people to know what the translation was, so you didn't lose the ability to translate. I know the whole how, we didn't know how to read the hieroglyphics until the Rosetta Stone. I've never actually heard why we lost that ability, though. How did Egypt fall? The culture of Egypt fall so much that the ability to translate was lost. I don't know. Like, I don't know the specific event. I do know, Rome ultimately conquered Egypt. I know that. But Rome conquered a lot that still many things survive. Like languages survived. I mean, the Romans conquered the Jews. I think that might have happened on more than one occasion even. But not only did the faith continue, but definitely the language did. Now, true, it's also part of the culture to teach that. Maybe that... Is it possible that wasn't the case with Egypt? I don't know. And I'm not going to pause to look it up right now. There's million things I will think about and then be curious about. But I am kind of curious about that now. How did the ancient Egyptian culture die like it did? And also, now that I think about it, it would be interesting to see a comparison of that and some of the South and Mesoamerican, American Indian cultures. Because I want to say we still have the ability to read the Mayan language, because that culture survived enough with that, but there's also people talk about how there was the sudden collapse of that culture. And maybe it's just for the effect, the dramatic effect, that people say we don't know how it collapsed, why it collapsed, in the case of the Mayans. It's always possible with that stuff that, no, we do actually know, it's just, it doesn't sound as interesting. If we admit we know, it's keeping the mystery keeps people interested. Sorry if that sounds cynical, but it kinda is true for a lot of things. Where you gotta keep things interesting for people to be interested. So you inject some drama here and there, and that actually happened with Egypt even, because some of the theories for why, some theories about Egyptian culture originated in the 1920s, because there was a huge amount of interest, a real boom of archaeology in Egypt at the time. And the archaeologists that were there weren't necessarily there for the pure study of the culture and the artifacts. So they would inject their own things. So they put together very dramatic stories for why this happened or that happened concerning like the construction of the pyramids. And it's like, no, that's not true. Come on. It's like, they just made it up because it was more interesting. Yeah, and just, well, to them it was more interesting. But. Now, true, there was definitely some drama back then. Like,
You have no
oh
more
man,
room.
why can't I think of his name now? The wife was Nefertiti, one of the sons was Tutankhamun. Can't think of his name. And I really should be able to. There was one pharaoh of Egypt whose wife was Nefertiti, and it was Tutankhamun's father. A very different kind of pharaoh. He...
You can't carry
yeah,
anymore. Your inventory is full.
Any of them.
Your
Like
inventory
the
is full.
Egyptian mythology was polytheistic, but he actually went to a monotheistic, well, semi-monotheistic. I don't think he necessarily denied the other gods, but he did believe that. Oh, what was it?
My weapons and armor
The sun
are
god,
simply
but it
the
wasn't.
best. Look for yourself.
I don't think
You
it
will
was
find no better.
specifically Amun or Amun-Ra. I think it may have been another, like the specific god of the sun, or the name for the sun itself. I don't remember. It's been too long since I learned that stuff. That basically that was the supreme deity. And it just the people didn't like him. People hated him, actually. So
Goodbye.
after he died,
You found Neb Kemi? Where?
one of the things that happened, I'll sell that,
Storage? Caravan storage?
was the people went through and basically purged his name from everything, and a lot of the references to it. So they definitely had drama, because that was the ultimate if you remove their name, that meant that they would be forgotten, even in the afterlife. So it was basically a way to destroy their very soul. So very, very serious to do that. but it's also exactly why for a long time there wasn't necessarily much information on him or her. Obviously, Tutankhamun was, because he was more of a traditional pharaoh, so some of the records on him existed,
I don't haggle.
though
Sorry.
not really where he was buried, which worked out
Always a
very nicely
pleasure.
for us. Because his tomb was underneath another, so the tomb raiders didn't find it. And I don't remember what it was that led to the people actually finding Tutankhamun. Or may have just been known that, yeah, there's another tomb there, but you don't, put a tomb on top of a pharaoh. You don't do that. That would be sacrilegious, so the tomb raiders wouldn't have looked at it. So it remained sealed for all those centuries. But, yeah, I mean, there was definitely drama back then. But still, in the 1920s, they were putting in their own. And they also... It's something you see in a very old, well, relatively old. Not very old compared to ancient Egypt, but old compared to modern times. 1920s... movie of Cleopatra, where one of the things that they did then is they had no interest in historical accuracy. So they just, the costumes would look Egyptian, but would be basically a modern design. And the makeup and such was all modern for then. So, like, I don't remember who the actress was who played Cleopatra, but she had these very, very thin, high, long eyebrows, which was the style of the day in 1920s for women. But later on, there was another Cleopatra movie, many decades later, in the probably 50s or 60s. And in that, they actually chose to try to be more accurate with the history, and the styles there actually were more of what you would have seen, to our knowledge, back in Egypt at the time. Which I want to say involved basically more natural eyebrows. They weren't going to want them to be like a 1920s flapper. I mean, it's one of those weird things that happens. I'm getting close to the Telking. He's through here, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to do that, and then I can stream, hopefully recording. Isn't he through here? I think he is. Or maybe this just comes out. Not bad, but I like my obsidian set going. I kind of forgot where I was going with what I was just talking about. Hey, I got a level. Oh, okay. Didn't realize I forgot to do that. Where am I at? 27. Do that, and boom. So now much more elemental damage, which should boost with the intelligence. Okay. I just need to check something I saw there. Alright, so... oh yeah, that's right, how sometimes people make an effort to avoid injecting modern culture into representations of other things, but sometimes they don't. Like that 1920s Cleopatra obviously didn't. Whereas later on, the later Cleopatra. I also know that the television show, the Dick Van Dyke Show, which is a very good classic sitcom. It really is a very, very funny show. when that was being made, there was a conscious effort on the part of the series creator, who's also one of the writers for it, that it not date itself. So things like slang, even in the modern slang for when it was being filmed, would not be used. So that way you couldn't date it. Now, true, it was filmed in a, well, it's properly grayscale, not black and white, but so that technically dates it. But it's, they also filmed it actually on film, and high quality film. The cinematographer for the, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. This is where the Tolkien is. Where else are you gonna put it but with Ramses? Was that, but the cinematographer was actually a, like, film cinematographer, like as in Hollywood movie cinematographer, so very much and a perfectionist. So the cinematography they did, the work they did with the film, was not only so that it would be visually of high quality, but also survive at a high quality as well, and it did. To the point that when it's come out on Blu-ray, but I think it was the Blu-ray remaster or the DVD remaster, I don't remember. The people that did that, who also, because there is enough love for the television show, but also the original stuff would have been good enough, would have been high enough quality. There was a challenge. If you, while watching it probably would be the Blu-ray, if you spot a hair on the film there that somehow slipped by us, we will buy that copy for you. We will basically buy the set for you. Which, I mean, true, I think you can get it today for maybe $50, $60, but when it came out, it was probably more for the whole series, but still, they were very meticulous with that, with the remaster, but also when making it. But yeah, there was a conscious effort to avoid dating it. Also, the television show Hogan's Heroes. That is something that in every episode, there's always snow on the ground. That again was a conscious decision because they wanted to make sure that you couldn't tell what time of the year it was. So while yeah, there may be some where they are complaining about the snow, but it's like that you don't know about the passage of time in this. Compare that to a television show like MASH, where there really was far less effort to maintain any kind of continuity there. It's like there are episodes that it talks about, things happening months ago, or over the span of months. It seems that they're talking about things, and it's like you don't know what happened in the interim. Like, what episodes must have occurred in the interim there? It's like you don't know because it wasn't an effort there. But also they didn't really bother with making sure other things were correct. Like early at the end of the series, we know that Hawkeye had, it was just him and his dad because his mom died and he was an only son, only child. But early on, he talks about his mom and his dad and his sister. It's like they completely changed the backstory for the character because they didn't really care. Now, also, to be fair with the Dick Van Dyke series, they also had some backstory stuff changed. They also had, I think, 3 or 4 different actors all play the same character that was supposed to be Dick Van Dyke's character, Rob, was supposed to be his best friend. It's like always somebody else. There's always a different character playing. Always a different actor playing the character. It's like, yeah, it's just what they did. Also, the parents constantly changed. I don't remember how much. There's also some things. There was one episode when there was, because them getting married was one of the topics that was in a number of the episodes, and because part of it was they met during World War II while he was at boot camp. Excellent. Come on, pick him up.
Your inventory is full.
Screw you. It is not full, voice. It isn't. I'm going to make room.
Your inventory is full.
That hurts. It hurts. So little health regen. But I'm getting there. I just need the breastplate and the crescent, which I'm guessing it's the charm. It's what goes in there. Anyway, going back to the Dick Van Dyke Show, which, wow, if I had a plethora of seemingly disjointed topics. Yes, I want these. Rob and Laura, that were their names, played by Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore, met
A question you might want to ask
during World War II when he was in
Am I
basic training.
good
She
enough
was
for that helm?
like I want to say it was the USO tour, was with the USO and was doing shows for the troops there. And they met, fell in love, and all that, and ultimately get married. And there's a lot of stuff. Hang on, let me just. I just want to see how. I'll hang on to it, I think. I can get rid of all those.
Thank you.
So it's like, that's something that never really changed. But what did change in the series
Very fine crates.
from time
Keep
to time
your goods
was... It's 3, that's 11. Was her age when they got married. Because at one point, I want to say there were statements made that basically made it that she was 18 at the time. But then there's an entire episode where it's actually no, she was 17 at the time, so technically they weren't married.
Goodbye.
Because she was still a minor, she wasn't old enough to get married and didn't have
If you're not going to buy it,
the
don't
like written
touch it.
permission of her parents to get married.
Good riddance.
So they had to go and
Do you need
get
to
married again,
stow something?
and it just hijinks ensue. Wait, oh no, there it is. But yeah, so it's like, yes, they had continuity issues there as well. There was also when their son was born, where was he working? Because it's like he had the same job, but the actual position of the office changed, the location of the office changed, things like that. But some places do a better job of that than others. MASH does a horrible job of it. Dick Van Dyke, they did a better job. Not perfect though, but better. The original Star Trek did not do a good job. I can't necessarily think of all the examples, but there were definitely some things that they didn't. Like the concept of a quadrant was something that they definitely didn't have nailed down. What was some other stuff? I don't remember all of it, but there were a number of examples. But then when they got to Next Generation, they were a bit more careful. Oh yeah, I think also the concept of star dates was something that was just... They just used numbers. Basically, they just threw out... I think it's 7-digit numbers. Maybe it's less. I don't... Oh no, 7 is a phone number. It's less than that. Might be 5 or 6. Sometimes with a decimal point. But when you get to Next Generation, though, they actually made like the star dates, and even then, also the Next Generation does have issues between the early episodes and later episodes. But yeah, Data especially has a lot. His backstory changed in these ones. Yeah, like in the beginning, the fact that he was an android didn't seem so weird. It's like, oh yeah, he's an android. Okay, moving on. But then later on, it's like, no, he's the only android. But there's Data lore. But there's also lore. So, oh, there's 2 of them. Also, some stuff concerning the Borg as well. But anyway, the star dates are actually chronological. At least semi-chronological in the series. And you can always tell what season it is. Because if they say the star date is 4/4 something something something, the second digit is the series. Is the season. So that's 4th season. So if it's 4/7, that's the 7th season. It's also the final season. 1 first season. So they actually made a more conscious effort to maintain some certain design mechanics to the story and how it's told. The narrative. And that also reminds me of something else that relates to me. I definitely see with TNG. You can also see with Deep Space Nine and a lot of television shows. Voyager had less opportunity to do it, but you can still see it there. Just how you can see some television shows change a lot. Like sometimes it's even from like the first 1, 2, maybe 3 episodes to the rest. And in some cases, it's from the first year, the first season to the rest. I'm really hoping I get to the Tolkien soon. My throat is starting to itch. I'm talking so much. One thing with TNG that changed was the uniforms. I was like, that's one example, but there's also just the method to the storytelling as well. They changed that as well. Some of the earlier stuff was more campy. You also see in some shows, though, the film style, the cinematography itself changes. Like sometimes it would be much brighter. It would seem to use more of a handy cam kind of style too, but then they changed that to something where it's more steady. Like they actually have the camera on a tripod instead of being held. And also you'll see some where it's changed throughout for a specific purpose. Like one thing, and it's funny, until I actually watched it with a commentary, I didn't notice it, but it is there. In The Matrix, in the movie The Matrix, whenever you are in the Matrix, the coloring has a greenish tint to it. Whereas whenever you're in the real world, it has a bluish tint to it. It was just meant as one of those subtle things not necessarily everyone will notice or see there, but it's still a way that at least subconsciously helps differentiate between them. And The Matrix, that I have that. I don't have its 2 sequels. I don't want its 2 sequels either. Those are not, in my opinion, good movies. So I don't know how much that blue-green coloring continues with those. But one thing really interesting about the Blu-ray that I have for it is it has a number of commentaries on it. And it's really funny to me because the commentaries... one of the commentaries is by actual philosophers. Or at least one of them is a professor of philosophy. I don't remember what the other one is. I think he might not be a professor of philosophy like the other one, but he's somehow related to that kind of field, to that topic. You watch that commentary, and they're talking. They're being critics to the movie. They're talking about the movie itself, not necessarily the philosophical concepts in there. Whereas you watch, they also have a commentary done by critics, by actual movie critics. They're talking about the philosophy. It's really funny to watch that and catch that. At least to me, because it's like, why are you doing each other's roles? And personally, I found that the philosophers were more interesting. Well, criticizing the movie. I found that more interesting than the critics. Another set of interesting commentaries would be for the Man with No Name trilogy. Specifically, the commentaries done by the biographer of Sergio Leone. He has so many stories that he wasn't on set at all. he can talk like he was. It's amazing. And for the good and the bad and the ugly, there's 2 different commentaries, at least, available on that disc. And one of them is not by him, by somebody else. And watching it, it's like, this is not that interesting. Because I have the trilogy, I have all 3 movies. I watched them with the commentaries, and I watched them with the commentaries in order of the movies. And there's some things that the biographer was saying that then when it got to watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I brought up the first commentary, which is one by the other person, first, and he's talking about things, it's like the biographer's already been talking about this stuff in the other commentaries, and saying the complete opposite. And it's like he's the actual biographer for Sergio Leone. And he is able to speak with great authority on this. I think I'm gonna, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna believe what he was writing more than, what he was saying more than what this other guy was saying. And it just, that was kind of annoying. No, I don't, I'm gonna keep that, but I'm not gonna use it. That's a lot of life. Okay, I might actually be able to make one of these. Or did I already? It's possible I already did. I think I need to warp back. Oh, what the hell? I know I already have the greaves, but are they a little bit different? They... more defensive ability, less movement speed. Thing is, I don't know exactly how... I don't know how that translates to one being better than the other. I will hang on to this pair, though. I will hang on to that and just... I'll throw it in shared, actually. Why am I running? I am gonna need to come back. Maybe I can do that off stream, because there's 1 or 2 more tombs I think to go through, and it's just I gotta complete everything.
My spears are straight,
but,
my greaves are sturdy.
Yeah.
Look for yourself.
But yeah, going back, I mean, the biographer, such interesting stories that he can share. And I'm not kidding about it. Really, he's able to speak with so many stories from it that it does sound like he was actually involved with the production, even though it was years before him. Alright. Yeah. Don't keep that.
Goodbye.
Right. Take care of those.
Storage? Caravan storage?
There. Move that. Take that. Okay. There. There. I just got an achievement, archaeologist. Gonna have to look to see what that is. Assemble 50 relics. Okay.
Goodbye.
Alright, I could probably talk a lot more about, I mean, true, the stream is gonna come to an end very soon. I could probably talk a lot more about,
You defeated
about
the
those
Telkin?
movies.
Excellent. Perhaps there is hope yet. You must get to Babylon.
See?
Even
Good
now,
talking.
another Telkin is assaulting that city. What is this tablet that you found? Let me take a look at it. Oh, no. I know now what these Telkin were looking for. This tablet reveals that within the Temple of Marduk, below the Hanging Gardens, rests the sickle of Kronos. This sickle was used by the Titans in the Great War and possesses the power to kill even a god. If this sickle is at the Telkeen's command, oh, we are all doomed.
That both
Hurry!
is and isn't
It is
accurate
most important that you get to Babylon right away.
for the mythology.
There is no time to go by land or boat. There may be a better way. Go to the Temple of Hatshepsut, where you will find an ancient portal. The Scepter of Eternity is a key to many realms and can be used with the portal to transport you to Babylon. Place the scepter before the portal and walk through. Go
You
with
cannot
all...
open this door.
Okay, so what do we
There,
have to say?
the gates are open.
Oh, okay.
Go!
Don't need to do that. I'll improve this. And I just want to hit the thing up here, right? Yeah, so Kronos made the sickle. So save. Just a second, let me. So, see, I'm still okay. Act 2. I'm gonna be finishing that off. The next one, moving on to into Babylon. I'll just quickly pull up the other character. Because this, I'm at 26, this guy's at 30. And there's a lot of health regen at this point. Kronos made the sickle to kill his father. And sometimes it is just referred to as a sword. Oh, that's right. I took... What was that I took off? I took something off that... Was the helmet? I don't know. There was something. I had this up to like 25. Yeah, see, in Act 3. So I'm already over there. If I were to... Here, that's... Yeah. I mean, it is neat how it does this. It takes you all the way over, but it's... It makes for an... Because you're basically chasing that Telkeen. Makes it kind of interesting. But Kronos made the sword to kill his father. Which is important because it basically was part of a prophecy that yes, he would end up killing his father. But also that because Kronos killed his father, his son would kill him. That's actually why, well, his child, I think, may have been not specific to being a son, which is why Kronos consumed his 5 children. He attempted to consume 6, but Rhea had given him the stone. That was actually also... No, it was just a stone. He was poisoned later on to protect Zeus. So it's like, it was actually part of this prophecy that because you did this to your father, your son shall do it to you. And I want to say that Zeus did also take the sword, take the sickle, and used it to kill Kronos. I don't know what happened to it after that, but that is an artifact in the mythology, but it wasn't that great war that Imhotep would just referenced would not have actually been the war, the clash of the Titans between Zeus and the Olympians and the Titans, they're all Titans, but between Zeus and Kronos, it would have been between Kronos and his father, that Kronos would have used it to kill his father. If you're referencing Kronos using it, so yeah. I know too much weird stuff, and so many weird topics I talked about. I don't know how I do that. But as I said, it's kind of a nice thing to be able to just fill time talking. That is useful in some facets of my life. It is an asset for some facets of my life, and this is among them. But I gotta be going now. Yeah, it's funny. This may end up being a longer recording than the actual Kingdom Come Deliverance stream I will do on Saturday. Life can be funny. See you next time.